Well, if you look at reality, this is just like once a tiny frame second in the cosmic scale of time that doesn't really exist. And in the end, everything is going to be gone. This is just, we're somewhere maybe in the middle of the whole story to being unfolded in multiple stories on an endless time frame of multiple existences that can coexist with each other at the same time. While in the end, once all this is over and God has experienced himself for what it can be in every possible way, God will be gone. And as soon as the light is gone, there will be no shadows being cast anymore. And the physical darkness or the existential darkness that is there, part of existence, will also be gone. And the only thing you're left with will be the void, which is nothing, which cannot exist at the same time because we are in existence and it cannot be understood. So it always comes back to that, going back to the original source. And then it starts all over again. It's a continuous cycle of experiencing itself, because we could very well be just in a very small marble somewhere on an alien planet, and we're just all in artificial created reality, and it wouldn't make any fucking difference, because essentially it's the same thing just being recreated, as everything is a fractal and a reflection of itself.
Most definitely. I mean, this is what I've said about understanding the illusion of reality and kind of disillusioning yourself. Because when me and you are talking right now, we have this illusion of separation. We have an illusion of you're talking to me through a device and I'm talking to you through a device, and you're over there across the world and I'm over here. Where in actuality, that's not true. Separation isn't true. And a matter of fact, that there is no difference between you or I. We are both byproducts of the same force, experiencing the same force all over again at a different viewpoint, a different vantage, just through a different lens. And that's why we are all God. I mean, people don't understand this. We are all becoming living gods in a sense, because we're all made from the same force, limitless potential. And what we are doing, like you said, we are experiencing our own creation, our own play field, just different views and different angles. Whether we wake up to that fact in this lifetime or not, that's up to you as an individual. And people like me, like you, and like everyone else have woken up to it, and now it is up to us what we can do with it. And that's the beauty of the left-hand path. There is no restriction. No one says to you, with great power comes great responsibility. Because
I go for that saying all the time as well. It's the best quote ever from Spider-Man.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, for me, there's no such thing as good. There's no such thing as evil. There are morals and there are ethics, and there is that line in the sand which you as an individual will draw. And let me tell you, black magicians have drawn lines in the sand continuously, because we say this is what I'll never go over. This is what I'll never step over. But you can guarantee, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So you can guarantee for success and to really push past your boundaries and to really evolve. Sometimes you have to be willing to step over that line. And you do. And in the end, there is no line. There is no you. There is no nothing. Everything is pure and utter chaos, man. And you, as a black magician, you can delve in it and drown in it, or you can give order to the chaos. I mean, everything that you do is up to you. Who am I to tell you what to do? Who is anyone to tell you what to do? Sometimes I've noticed, and me and you've touched on this subject privately, there are individuals who come into this whole system of black magic and darkness and these real chaotic forces, and they lose their mind. And I'm not going to mention any organizations on here, but there are certain organizations out there that have just purely lost their freaking marbles, and they're committing these anti-cosmic rituals, and they're just purely destructive. They just want to destroy everything. I think this is what kind of gives the whole black magician a bad name, because you have people out there like that. But in actuality, when you look at it, most of them are mentally unstable to begin with. And I think in a way we all are. In a way we're all
crazy.
Doing this.
We're not sane. We're talking about crazy shit here. If some sane person that is not into this sees this, we're crazy. Definitely.
Yeah, this is the common theme that I have talked about with many magicians. There is a madness, but like the Agori, the section of the Agoris, they will dive into defilement. They will dive into the grotesque, to the darkest pits of filthy spirituality, and there, in that grotesque field of spirituality, and in that madness, they will find secrets and uncover things that the purest of the purest souls will never uncover. You have
Oh
to
yeah.
be able to dive into madness. And I've said for a long time, what is sanity? Sanity is merely a perception of this reality, which is acceptable to the masses, really. And so take all those concepts out of your mind: good, evil, sane, or insane, because these are restricting factors on the self. Do not care what people label you as. Do not care what anyone else thinks. Dive into this at your pace, and just know that sometimes not everything is going to be under your control. You're going to be placed in a field of test upon test upon test. But this is for a reason. This is for a purpose. And if you can withstand the storm and you have that will, not only is the grass greener on the other side, but on the other side, it can be whatever you want it to be. It can be grass, it can be rock or gold for all you want. So that's an important thing to keep in mind for the new generation watching this video. And I just really think that it's great that there are more individuals of a younger age really jumping into the platform, because for a long time I was just in the background, man. I was on forums, I was lurking around, and I was just silent for a very long time. But now I've kind of come to the forefront because it feels like sometimes the occult needs a different voice, and now it needs a younger voice, and it looks like both of us have stepped up to that challenge. Here we are.
Exactly. Before we touch on the younger generation again, I just want to briefly say that when you look at the Agori, for example, they live in spiritual filth. They have gotten away with the coping mechanism of having a sane understanding of reality and being able to be a functioning member of society. They don't care anymore. They find sacred substances within the most unsacred things, like shit, piss, and all these things, rotten flesh. Because it's part of the divine, it's part of creation. But if you want to still live in society and be a person that is not completely insane, you will always have to keep yourself in check by placing an order upon the chaos which you just came out of. But it's very important also to be able to strip away your layers of how you think reality functions and just get rid of it. And once you come back and you still want to reintegrate yourself within society, be a functioning figure of this whole collective, then yes, it might be beneficial for you to still keep some form of order within your life and within your spiritual system, because you could just become insane. If you really want to go down that path, that's definitely part of what we're doing. But I think for me, essentially, it's keeping myself in check with the knowledge, the powers that you gain from plunging yourself in chaos and then taking that chaos and putting an order to it. Like order out of chaos, the basic principle of the New World Order, essentially. And then you go into the new generation right now, where people are stepping up, and we have stepped up to the viewing field of many individuals out there. And this is just the very beginning of a massive thing that's unfolding right now within the collective mind of humankind. I mean, if you take a look at what's going on within trending topics, DCIA 5 years ago, if not mistaken, has brought out official papers about how astral projection is actually real and that we're living in a holographic universe. And then you have people coming to you with all these informations and they're mind blown by it, and you just like, duh, we've been saying that all along. It's like, yeah, we know. And that's why it's important that the people that know this, that have studied this privately, either academically or just by their own, and work for these powers, have gained the knowledge, been there, done that, went to these states of existence, to show people how it actually functions, how it can be reintegrated within a sane manner, essentially.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, when you touched upon the subject of astral projection there, I believe it was the CIA. I could be mistaken. There was some intelligence agency that actually held tests on what
that was
magic
the one.
was.
That's the paper that's just now trending.
And they were talking about not only astral projection, but manipulating the world around you through ritual magic, or just through the mental projection, the inner work of it. And I think they call it something like mapping. No, I could be entirely wrong about that. But I know they were discussing how it works, and they were trying to give it a very scientific module. The problem with that is they were spot on about a lot of things, but when you try to take the complete unknowable and cram it into a box of logic, you're going to lose a lot of gems. A lot of gems are going to drop out. I always tell people, try not to force logic on the unlogical. I've always said, and me and JS were talking about this before, that magic is an illogical science. It is an illogical science, and embrace that. Embrace it. It's a good thing, and most definitely you're going to notice that in years to come, everything that we have said right now is science is going to catch up to. And by the time that they do catch up to it, we'll be saying shit that is just so far out that they still won't believe it. And then years afterwards, they'll catch up to that too, until we do reach the crossroads where it's magic and science are one in the same. It's just the spiritual side said this many, many years before science ever caught up to it. So yeah, that's very interesting. So now, what I do want to talk about is your direct approach to magic in general, because me and you were discussing this. Now, I have been for years studying in different systems, different types of spirituality, not only black magic, and all different types of path workings. And what I do from that is I take a lot of usable and applicable knowledge, and then I cut away the bullshit, and I just move forward and try to see what else I can usurp. Now I've reached that point in my spirituality where it's like all the books I've read and everything that I have read, I kind of have to relearn again, because, and you're kind of taking that approach, right? Right now, you're kind of you just stopped everything. You just put it all down. You're like, everything that I once learned, I'm going to do away with, and I'm just going to go into this and just discover it for myself.
Yeah, exactly. I was never the biggest reader, first of all. I definitely have the classics. We've talked about this privately before. But it's like, when I started this path so many years ago, you first have to learn. You got to learn the basics for sure. You got to learn the basics, and then it depends on where you learn the basics from. And you pick up things here and there, and then you do the basic dissection of, okay, this is bullshit. This is a dogma that's put there for a reason. If you take a look at the old grimoires, it's all within code. And then you take away of that, and you take what's really working for you, and you apply that. But right now, I am in a time in my life where I was like, the glass is full. I got to empty the cup and just go into it with a very fresh approach and go into it, which kind of interlinks and connects to what you were saying 2 minutes ago, where you can't be too scientific about it. Because if you do magic and you know the basics and you have practiced for so many years, it just flows for you. It comes natural. It's as breathing. Explain. It's like you don't consciously breathe. You just breathe. It's something that is like in your DNA, within your body. It's a mechanism to keep you alive. The same way you blink, it's just there. And when it becomes part of you, you can look at it at a very different angle and viewpoint. While at the same time, you cannot really follow the magic, because if you do a spell, for example, and you do a ritual, either for you or for a client, for someone else, you could, if you want to, take it very scientifically in the way of you know exact each detail of all the realities that go out there, but you will end up nowhere, because you will continue to move through the rabbit hole of existence until there's no end to it. You could follow it until nirvana, and there would be no stop. So you just got to trust in that process once you know the basics and you have that powers within you, and then just go for it. And that's what I've been doing for many years, is learning by consciousness itself, by taking the approach of basic metaphysics, understanding how reality functions, and then working with the spirits themselves and not using other people's methods or approaches. I am not the well-written guy at all. Like, I have not read too many occult classics at all. I have not even touched on Aleister Crowley's work. I know that he's out there, and I have seen some of his writings, but I've never read any of his occult classics that are famous within our path. And this is where it ties into the new generation of finding things out by yourself, because things have been done before. And if we don't change things and do things in a different way, there's no place for us here. We have a place here to do exactly that, to revolutionize or to do something different, and doing it from a natural way, just as breathing, essentially.
Most definitely. I mean, I've said for a very long time, the fact that our social media pages are updating, our mobile devices are updating, our technology, our education, our, everything's moving forward. Everything's progressing forward. I mean, even religion, in a sense, are kind of moving forward. Like the way that they
Well, they
spread their
can't
messages.
witches at the stake anymore, right? They got to move forward. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, even the way that they convey their so-called truth now is different as well, and the way that they convert people is different. Now, the interesting thing about that is everyone seems to be moving forward, but the occult seems to be in the middle ground. It's not like we've been stopped or anything, but it seems like, well, okay, this seems okay. We're kind of okay where we're at. But I'm not okay with that. I mean, I don't know about you personally. With me, I think that we should be constantly moving forward. I mean, now, for those who don't know, for those who are watching this, many of you know that I have contributed a lot to the gatekeeper pathworking. Aserial Krabat, you've done exactly the same, and I've read quite a bit of your work in there. And in that, we can see that both of us are coming from personal experience. Like both of us are coming from personal experience. We're not coming from the background of, well, I read this about the entity, this is that, and this is this. It's not dogmatic at all. And you don't really take anything from anyone else's work. You go purely by instinct. You go purely by what you know and what you're discovering in a moment. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You're more than right, because if you look at the occult, we were always the ones pushing things forward. Excuse me, from the shadows, essentially, many years. And if you take a look at rocket science, or if at NASA, and all these things that were scientifically available or are now available, they had a occult background, essentially, and we were always the ones, pushing the envelope to change things. While at the same time, we are now the ones that are kind of stuck within old, also dogmatic principles. While the left-hand path has always embraced that change and moving along with the changing tides. That's why it's very important just to it's not about revolutionizing things. It's more about going with the flow and going with the times of change, and changing yourself. Because if you stay stagnant on the same path, you can do magic on a very basic level and do love spells and fuck around with it, but what's the true purpose behind it? You are not a real witch or a sorcerer or whatever you identify yourself as, because you just use magic for that gain and that's it. You don't really breathe it. It's not in your soul core. You got to integrate that and then move along with it. And if you really are truly authentic within that, and you go for it with the full intention of your heart being, you will change, and you will always continue to change. And change is hard. Most people don't like that, and that's just why darkness is also a very important aspect to integrate within our workings.
Most definitely, most definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at all this in general, now you have to understand something. So when you start doing magic and performing it from the very beginning, you're performing magic. That's all you're doing. You're using magic. I don't say that now. I don't go into my ritual area and say, all right, I'm about to do magic. No, I'm breathing it. I am magic. I am magic. I wake up and I'll meditate. If I'm not doing anything and I feel unproductive sometimes, I start to like really be screaming at myself on the inside. I'm like, do something with your time, and I'll meditate. And to some people, they're like, well, that is doing nothing. To you, it's doing nothing. To you, it's doing nothing. But you have no idea what you are doing when you are meditating. I mean, this is why I fall so much into the yogic system a lot, because the yogic mystics, we're really onto something with the whole path of the seeker. That's what we are. That's what we are. No matter how much we learn, no matter how much we keep moving forward, there are always going to be more questions. The more answers you gain, the more questions you'll have. And the path of the seeker is a vast one, because we know that we know nothing, and we can pretend. We can sit here and be like, I can sit here and tell you I've been in the occult for 60 years. I've been in the occult for 70 years. That doesn't mean nothing. Time doesn't mean nothing. If you're sitting in front of a camera saying, I know this, I know that, I'm better than you, then you're egotistical. You're doing the opposite of what spirituality is about. We're trying to ascend above that ego. And then when we do come back down to the ego self, you notice you're more humble. And then eventually what happens is that distant God self and the ego self are one, where you can sit here and purposely say, yeah, I know everything, because in actuality, I know nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just going about it as best as I can, and that's what a black magician does, in my opinion. That's what I do. I know that all of this is unfathomable, and I can cram it into a box as much as I want. But all I'm doing is I'm interfacing with something that you can't fully gauge at our primitive state right now, at our primitive state. But we're moving forward. We are moving forward. We are progressing. I mean, the fact that Elon Musk is coming out with this whole Neuralink, and you have things like AI coming out. I mean, with Neuralink, we can basically merge that with AI. So instead of worrying about an AI overlord taking over us, we can eventually become the AI. Therefore, we could literally reach physical immortality. We
Hmm.
could reach being able to expand our capability to learn years and years and years of things in light speed. I mean,
Yeah.
and when you're at that moment, you can then go about your spiritual journey, because I'm under the apprehension that no matter how much you learn, really, you're still going to be left with more questions. So if I was plugged into that machine, man, all I'd be doing is asking questions, getting answers, asking questions, getting answers. That's all I'd be doing, you know?
Yeah, and you would and then you're caught up in a loop, and but at the same time there will always be. Well, if you want to answer all questions, the only thing you can really do, and this is what this Hazel told me once, I think that's also in the compendium, is if you want to reach that state, you can go into nirvana. That's it. You can just meditate, and the more you meditate, the more you learn that you can go out of your body, join source again, or God, whatever you like to call it, and you got all your questions answered because you are it. And while at the same time, there's still a limitation to that, where you got to accept the thing that it's outside of source, which is the true source, if you look at it that way. But this is the change. This is where it's going to happen, where we're going to transcend beyond the normal human state that we are right now. And 1,000 of years from now, we're going to be you're going to look at humanity and think like, oh, we have actually evolved. You can take a look at 1,000 of years back and see, yes, we were a different species. We have actually evolved. They were just like minor things that are going on right now. No, real like evolution has happened, because we have merged with something that's beyond us. And that's, excuse me, it's just another example of fractals, and of the fractal reality of being a reflection of itself. That's what's going to happen with AI. That's what's going to happen with the internet. It's going to come the representation of source and information on this planet on a very different dimensional level. But it's going to be interlinked with that. So I'm interested to see where this is going to be in maybe like 10,000s of years. If we don't have any cataclysm destroying everything once again, like it has happened like 10, 20,000 years ago. If the internet is still there, what's the internet going to be? Because the internet is such a basic term right now for something that has not existed for so many years. It's just been out there for, if I'm not mistaken, like 20 years. I don't know. The internet is pretty new still. But we're still kind of getting used to it and all the things that are like, happening on the internet. So if you take a look at what the internet is, it's a new dimension. It's a form of communication. It's a connection, a collective connection. And the smarter it gets, the more we have to become part of it. Otherwise, we're going to be, evolutionary wise, just brushed off as being having no importance here, because we're just parasites.
Yeah, because otherwise we're going to be giving birth to a god, and that god's going to look at us and just think, why the hell do I keep this thing alive? All it does is eat, piss, shit, destroy each other. I mean, what's the purpose of even having it? This world would be a lot better with it not being around. So yeah, the best case scenario is us becoming a part of AI, us merging with that and being in control of that. But I will say, brother, on the topic of knowing, on the topic of asking questions, on the topic of getting answers, just like you said, I mean, go to that nirvana, go to that state. I mean, and as also told you that what Bael told me when I was doing that whole void alchemy, he told me personally. He said, "You want to know the meaning to everything? And of course, you're not going to turn that down, right?" So I was like, "Yeah, of course." He's like, "Make it up." Because it has no meaning. Nothing has to have a meaning. Nothing has to have meaning. And this is kind of where these devils get a bad rap, because their look is so dark and cold sometimes. But that's just reality. It's the fact that there is no meaning to it except for the meaning that you give it. And you being God, when you give that meaning to it, that's what it is, you know. So my existence, my destiny, my fate, just like yours, that's in our own hands. The meaning to everything is in our hands. It's all up into interpretation. So no matter how much people, this is why I find it strange when people get into debates, that they will really sit there for hours and hours arguing with each other. No, my God's real, your God's wrong. No, we are the truth. I mean,
That's like medieval times. That's it doesn't get you anywhere.
no, it doesn't. I mean, we can sit here and argue all we want, but nothing's going to happen. And I can tell you, it's funny when you notice that everybody was the chosen ones. If you were in, if you were in, if you were in the Arabic region and you're a Muslim, then to you were the chosen people, because it just happened that God favored you. But I mean, that goes for any other type of system out there, where it's like, well, why did God come to these people but ignore all these others? It's because it's your truth, it's your belief. And me, man, I'm just at the point in my evolution now where I kind of understand there hasn't got to be a meaning to anything, and that's the beauty in it, because then I can make the meaning myself, and I can interweave that into all existence.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually a beautiful saying where that comes from a video game called Assassin's Creed, and their masters told their students that one of our creed, and the first thing in our creed, is that nothing is true and everything is permitted. One of the students doesn't understand it at the beginning and thinks he's just permitted to do anything, and just kills a bunch of people. And they say, you don't understand it. You base your truth upon what you feel like you've been chosen to do, what your truth is. While at the same time, you don't go out there just because you think you are the Antichrist and you kill a bunch of people. You can, yeah, but it's going to have consequences, because you're going to mess with someone else's collective ability to be here, to have a purpose, and you're going to intertwine it there where you maybe shouldn't have done things like that. That's just like one basic example of like that nothing really matters, first of all. That nothing is true. While at the same time, we give it meaning. And we here on this planet, on these multiple solar systems that exist within the Milky Galaxy, within all these other galaxies, we're collectively connected as a species, as a collective species. And it's our purpose to collectively find out why we're here and what our job is and what existence essentially is. Otherwise, we're just going to be lost.
Most definitely, man. Most definitely. And I love the fact that we're pulling from those things, you know, in our type of generation, the Assassin's Creed movies. That only goes to show you that more of this stuff is in pop culture now. And it's like I'm a massive show of the fun, the show American Gods, because in that there's a character called Shadow Moon, a normal mortal man surrounded by all different types of gods. And one day he walks into a room and there are different Jesuses. I never thought I'd say that word. There are different types of Jesuses everywhere. And he was like, why? Because and the character, Mr. Wednesday, who's supposed to be Odin, explains, well, when you close your eyes and you pray to Jesus, somebody has one picture in their mind of who Jesus is. Someone else has another one. So you have Mexican Jesus, white Jesus, Filipino Jesus, and it's all up to interpretation, and therefore that is reality. And that is how I see reality, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, brother,
that's exactly what it is. You know, that's what the mask are working with. You know, with these multiple entities, they're still the same source, but you will approach it differently than someone else might do it.
Yeah, most definitely, man. I mean, brother, it was awesome to have you on. Most definitely, we'll have to jump on again real soon. And everybody, so Aserial Krabat is going to be starting up his platform real soon. Can we say anything about that quite yet?
Well, I don't want to say much. The only thing I can say is that for the ones that have followed me over the years that know I had something going on, I'm going back, but this time fully, with all my heart, with all that I've learned over the years, because I'm ready now, and I'm ready to be out there and helping people. And just wait until I'm out there, and you'll see what's going to happen. I will not spoil anything for now.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, brothers and sisters, I hope you enjoyed this, and give us a comment, give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe, and check out my Facebook page, and check out this YouTube page too. And if you like the Aserial Krabat, definitely I'll be having him on again. So thank you for watching. Goodbye for now.
Thanks for having me on. Bye bye.